Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how Carol Vorderman may have caught Nigel Farage out with his defence on the payments he gets from GB News, why Farage would even feel the need to come up with a dubious defence, and how his mate Richard Tice managed to expose himself as being against working people in his own bizarre defence as well. So, as various media outlets have been reporting on the publication of MPs' financial interests for this tax year leading up to the beginning of this month, attention was being paid to Nigel Farage, who's been described as the highest paid MP, thanks to his massive £98,000 a month salary from GB News. Now, I said at the time, this won't make him the highest earning MP, although maybe you could still say highest paid if you mean that specifically to include salaries. Several MPs will be making more money than Nigel Farage. They're just not declaring it due to various loopholes. Not the least of which will be people like his mate Richard Tice, who have their financial dealings registered offshore in order to not only dodge tax, which means hurt our ability to afford, public spending, but dodge financial scrutiny as well. Proper patriots these people are, aren't they? But anyway, the focus was on Nigel Farage, and it seems like he felt the need to downplay the sums involved. So he tweeted out that the sum GB News pays him includes VAT and was paid to the company, which has significant expenses, effectively saying that, oh yeah, all that money is going into my pocket. Actually, very literally, I only probably get about 5p a month. He's basically implying not very much of it did at all, without actually saying what the figures are. But it does beg some questions. The first of which is why he's included all of that in his employment and earnings. Couldn't he have just said, well, this is what they give my business, this is what I withdraw from the business? But I don't know the ins and outs of that. But I'll tell you what I do know. Carol Vorderman spotted a much more explicit issue. So Nigel Farage said that the sum quoted in his declaration included VAT. Now, the VAT on fees would not be part of your earnings because that is tax paid directly to the Treasury. So, for example, if you get a bill for something and you get it with or without VAT, the VAT part of it doesn't go to that business. They have to pay that directly to the Treasury. But as Vorderman notes, the guide for MPs on filling out this declaration says that the fees given should be before the addition of VAT. But Farage is claiming he's included VAT in the sum. So as Vorderman says, either Farage has broken the code of conduct in not completing his form correctly, or he's lying in his tweet. Now, of course, you could argue if he genuinely has included VAT, it would be inadvertent. I wouldn't make a massive fuss about it. He will certainly make that argument himself. And being honest, you know what? MPs cock their submissions up all the time. I'll tell you what's definitely going to happen this autumn. There's going to be loads of MPs referred to the Standards Committee for errors in their submissions. It happens all the time. I'll be honest, I hate filling forms in. I never think too uncharitably towards an MP of any party who makes an inadvertent slip like that, right? But it does warrant further investigation because Nigel Farage is claiming in his tweet he has filled his declaration in incorrectly. Someone should press him on that because either he genuinely has made a mistake, in which case just correct it and we can see the updated submission, no problem. He's a new MP at the end of the day. This is the first time he's had to fill this form in. I'll bet it's a horrendous form. We all make mistakes. But let's just say, just for a moment, let us just say, now he's been told that he's made a mistake and he's been shown the proof because it's really clear in the guidance on it. Yeah, you're not supposed to include VAT. So let us just imagine he doesn't change his submission. That means he didn't include VAT on it, that he's lied to his followers instead. So if in a few weeks' time we find that this submission remains the same, he's lied to his followers in order to downplay his earnings from GB News, which would then beg the question, why? As I said in my video at the weekend, my concern was not the amount he was making as such, it was the time he was spending. Because Farage is not doing his job as an MP. There are reports of constituents emailing him, not getting replies. They can't see him in person. He's not doing any surgeries. He's not spending any time at all in Clacton, his constituency. A cynic might suppose that's because he's not reining back any of the work he was doing from before he became an MP. So, he was filling his time up, doing various things, including the work on GB News, various other things. Then he became an MP. And he's not cut back on the time he's spending on the other things. In fact, he's prioritising all the things he was already doing over his public duty. But if Farage has to lie to his followers, it suggests that he thinks maybe people are concerned about the amount of money he's making on the side, not just the time he's spending. Why else lie about it? And although we do still have to wait to see whether or not he corrects his submission in order to tell, whether he really has lied, or I think to what extent he's lied, because I'm going to say he's still lied to a certain extent. Like this idea, the submission aside, this idea that when he said his business has significant expenses, he's trying to imply, actually, a load of that money gets spent on my business expenses. What business expenses? Like, yes, he may spend quite a bit on what you might call business expenses, but they will have little or nothing to do with that GB News work. That'll be separate. So he has a chauffeur, for example. He has a chauffeur who quite often parks in the disabled spot. We've all seen that. And that's an expense, but it's not one he needs for his GB News work. He can get himself to the studio. Also, it's regular work. So he doesn't need office staff to be able to manage, oh, can you come in for this time to do that? No, he has set times to go into the studio, so he doesn't need staff to arrange that. It is possible he pays a researcher. Maybe he pays someone to find various facts and figures for him to mangle on his show. That would be expensive, but that would be the only genuine expense I can really think of. I mean, I do a similar job. It's a much lower profile, of course, but I do basically the same thing. And I don't employ anyone. I do have expenses. I have equipment, but the equipment in this case would be covered by GB News. I do have subscriptions for me to be able to do my own research, but that wouldn't make, I can afford that on what I make. It wouldn't make a dent in a £1.2 million a year payment if that's what I was making. But the defence of his earnings didn't end with Farage. His mate Richard Tice had a go himself. He appeared on GB News, of course he did, where he said that people working hard and learning lots of money, that was aspirational. We should all aspire to that. But in the same interview, he also attacked the pay offer to workers. So he was defending the eye-watering salary of his multimillionaire friend, going, "Oh, we should all aspire to this. Work hard, and we could all make £1.2 million a year." And we should be fine with that. We should praise it because he must be working terribly hard. But he's attacking pay offers which don't even fully correct the real terms pay drops of the past 15 years. In other words, Richard Tice is arguing, must be, that ordinary workers are lazy unless they're millionaires, because he's attacking their pay awards. But he's praising the huge pay of Nigel Farage specifically because he works hard. The implication must be that anyone whose pay he attacks is not working hard. So this so-called party of the people is literally attacking any worker who gets a pay rise as lazy. After all, he's defended a large salary on the basis the person earning it worked hard. He's attacked pay awards for ordinary workers, which can lead you to no other conclusion. He thinks the rest of you don't deserve it because you don't work hard enough. But of course, being on GB News, the host didn't bother to point out the hypocrisy, so it's left to others to do so. But cutting through the hypocrisy, what we have here is both Nigel Farage and Richard Tice, both living a life of luxury, regularly being seen in the most expensive restaurants London has to offer, feeling the need to downplay the size of Farage's pay packet, which suggests that they see it as a potential banana skin when it comes to describing themselves as men of the people. But it shouldn't distract us from the fact that what might be of more interest is the income they both receive, and other MPs as well, which wasn't on the declaration at all. Like I said at the weekend, Richard Tice, multimillionaire landlord, only posted about £40,000 a year worth of earnings. That's because the vast majority of his income doesn't need to be declared. Why not? That's the question we should really be asking. Still be worth keeping an eye on Farage's submission. Like I say, if it hasn't changed in a few weeks, it means he wasn't just trying to downplay the amount, he actively lied to his followers. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.